Yes, now, quite. Before we flay the goose here on Radio Flange Goblet and dress up as a band of fiercely loyal disco gnomes, we've just got time for a news flash. Oh, Christ, put your clothes back on, Barry.
Oh, you're no fun.
In Belize tonight, tensions are high as Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Kenneth Benjamin, look it up, this is factually accurate comedy, people, has finally returned from a maddening 3-day dance along the Saskatoon River, backed up by an enraged and partly legally blind samba group made up of people of vastly differing heights and girth. The motley gang of fast-footed soft shoers were clearly under the influence of needing a damn good funk, as either the government jobs and or tedium-drenched office-based working environments had ground them so far into the pits of despair that going, quite frankly, doolally with the dance was their last and final option. Several members of a lost and aimlessly wandering mariachi band were enticed down, dazed and sticky from too much sap, Doyle's Delight, the highest point in this flora and fauna-rich part of the country, only to succumb themselves to the fiendish and at this point almost inevitably erotically charged rhythms of this almost pagan and debased group of disparate toe-tappers. One unfortunate man, a Mr. P. Smytheface of Belmopan, which, for people keeping up and taking notes, is the actual capital city, was accidentally set on fire when a particularly flammable and barbarically naked polka was started by a rival gang. For a moment there, on the second night, a small sect of women dressed as Gretchen Moll started a rogue and unsanctioned bossa nova, which threatened to start a skirmish in which the main weapon would have been sporks left over from an earlier potato salad, but luckily that was avoided by projecting a large glowing image of Harry Belafonte into the night sky. Benjamin is currently in talks with a specially convened group of highly suspicious dour-faced jowly men from the community of Latin American and Caribbean states, CELAC, and the Central American Integration System, CICA, but there's no word yet on what their plan will be to curb this unruly leg flapper. Preliminary reports and speculation say that it has something to do with taking away all the pudding. If that happens, you can probably expect a full blancmange-based coup sometime in November. And now back to Terry Wiggins' branch of Oddbins for an update on sharp, pointy objects and their use as a deterrent against Sean Hannity, over at the After Movie Diner. Returning to the diner this evening, it's the co-host of one of the funniest podcasts online, Schlock Treatment. He's been here before. Every single film that I've covered with him on a podcast that he has picked has so far been terrible. Let's see if he can break that streak this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to give a warm welcome to the wonderful Mr. Douglas Frye. How are you doing, sir?
Thanks, John, for having me. I'm doing great, thank you.
No problem.
Yourself?
I'm splendid, sir. I'm splendid. We've just come off the back of watching X, the man with the X-ray eyes.
And how did that fare on your streak?
It was fantastic. It broke the streak wide open. It was great.
In my defense, we did have you on to cover The Evil Dead.
You did, yes. But you didn't pick that. You picked the one you picked was The Shadow.
Oh, you're right. You know what? That was picked by a poll.
It was?
Yeah. That was our first...
Oh, yes, it was. It was the Halloween one.
Schlocktober poll.
Schlocktober poll, indeed.
Yeah.
So, we've covered great movies. We've done Evil Dead. We've done Bubba Hotep. We did Killer Clowns from Outer Space. We've done some good
Ralph
movies.
picked that one.
Ralph picked that one. But the one I remember you calling me up to do on Schlock Treatment was The Shadow. So I always blame you for that. And then obviously the two, if people have heard the Supervan Megaforce episode that you're on. So is this only your second episode of The Diner?
Unless you count the Christmas one that I called in for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is only my second.
Oh, okay.
Second
Excellent. All right, so the second time that Doug is in the booth. That's fantastic. And you picked this one tonight, and as I said, it broke the streak wide open.
August 14th. Notes on experiment, designated X. Experimental subject, myself, James Xavier.
X, the most fantastic experiment you have ever taken part in, presents Ray Milland in his most challenging role since his Academy Award-winning Lost Weekend. X, the man with the X-ray eyes.
Are you all right? It's like a splitting of the world. More light than I've ever seen. Filled with light.
X, the man with the X-ray eyes, tries to help the most desperate in our society. and enjoys all the delights of secretly studying sexology.
Headache?
No, it's just my eyes.
A doctor with the power to see what others cannot believe. He can overcome the unknown, save lives, and invade the glamour gambling casinos of Las Vegas and defy the goddess of chance.
Don't draw. Don't draw. Next card's a face card.
And Harry, you better go for the sheriff right now.
Push up your sleeve.
So,
Right.
why don't you give us some background as to how you came across this movie, your love of Roger Corman, that kind of stuff?
I honestly do not remember the first time I saw X, The Man with the X-Ray Eyes. I think it might have been in the late 90s. Maybe I found it on Netflix when I was first getting into that.
Yeah, living in a motel, half a curtain billowing, some neon outside, something like that.
I just stumbled
During a
home from
lost-
a lost weekend.
Yeah. During your lost period, Doug Frye's famous lost period.
Yeah, it's most of the 2000s, actually.
Right. Drank a lot of absinthe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I got into Roger Corman initially through, there was a Showtime series that was all remakes of his movies,
Right.
and most of them were not very good. Like, they remade Bucket of Blood, they remade
Right.
The Wasp Woman, and so I got into finding out who he was through that and going back and checking out the original films.
Right, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, and
So it's about the only good a remake has ever done then?
pretty much. Yeah.
It's about the only good thing.
Yeah.
We're recording this episode because one day you happen to tune into a remake series on Showtime.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened.
I mean, it's
Also, I'm a big fan of Vincent Price
right.
and Edgar Allan Poe's writing.
Mm-hmm.
So I love the series that they did together.
He kind of did the definitive.
Yeah.
I mean, not
Minus
many,
the Raven, which, you know.
not many people have kind of gone back and done it. Those films again, have they? Has anyone?
They get done every once in a while, but they're always very cheap,
Right.
and there's nobody in them.
Right.
So I saw a couple of those on cable through the years, but they're...
Because Stuart Gordon did a similar thing with Lovecraft in the 80s, which was
Okay.
always really cool. But no, I don't feel like anyone's kind of gone back and tried to redo the Price movies with any kind of seriousness. Oh no, that's why Stuart Gordon came into my head. I don't know if he directed it or whether it was Eusner, who was obviously the other producer on Reanimator, but they did redo The Pit and the Pendulum
Oh, did they?
with
Okay.
Oliver Reed in the middle of the 80s.
Oh, I may have seen that. I'm not
I've got
sure.
a feeling that's why Gordon popped into my head. I mean, that and the kind
Yeah.
of... I think when you first come across Corman, for a lot of people, it's the Corman-Poe connection in the same way
Yeah.
the Gordon-Lovecraft connection. But I've got a feeling that it's either Gordon or Eusner who did The Pit and the Pendulum. But apart from that, I can't think of a direct remake.
Yeah.
Certainly no one's ever done like Mask of the Red Death or any of those ones since.
No, I don't think any of that's ever been touched.
No, that's wonderfully surreal, that one.
I
That's
like that one.
fantastically bonkers. The
The
Mask of
dwarf.
the Red
And,
Death.
yeah. It's,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just an amazing movie.
And I forget, there's something on the Roger Corman documentary, a movie he made on the set, like he had the castle set from all those movies that he'd
Yeah.
done with Price. And one weekend he went in with Dick Miller and Nicholson and made like a really surreal film. I
Oh, is
forget
it The Trip, maybe?
No, it's not late 60s either. It's like earlier. It's one of earlier. It's called like the I want to say like The Hunted or The Horror or...
The Haunted, I think.
The Haunted, maybe, okay.
I have that on I haven't actually watched it. It's on a double disc with Little Shop of Horrors. It's
right.
a Jack Nicholson 2-pack.
Yeah. The Haunted is bonkers. It's absolutely bonkers. I mean, I've seen most of it, and it doesn't make any sense, but it's got Dick Miller and Nicholson just kind of...
It's Jack Nicholson plays a soldier.
Yes.
I don't remember in which war, but he stumbles into that castle.
He's wearing...
it's like a French Foreign Legion uniform or something, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's like a double-breasted thing with like the gold brass buttons, whatever, down either side.
Yeah. It's like blue,
like a tunic or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a fantastic movie, and I've seen a lot of those earlier ones. I mean, I've seen kind of 2 or 3 from kind of each generation of what you think of Corman, because like I think then more people come to them like Death Race 2000 and those kind of movies.
That's the first DVD I ever bought.
Right. And I remember it being, Sylvester Stallone in Death Race 2000 was what the video, when the VHS came out in the UK, it was sold on the back of Stallone. Because I don't know how popular Kung Fu was in the UK, so I don't know how many people knew Carradine.
Wouldn't have been...
I think Stallone was probably more the... Plus, when the VHS came out, it was probably late 80s, early 90s, so
likely.
Stallone was still at his height. But I remember that coming out on VHS and seeing that. And then... just seeing all the Peter Fonda ones he did, and even ones that he didn't necessarily direct or whatever, but they produced. He's done some really good ones. But what if you got to pick like your favorite 5 or whatever? I've got to put them down to what are your favorite 5 Corman ones?
Corman directed or Corman?
Just Corman affiliated movies.
I'd go number 1, definitely Death Race 2000.
Okay.
2, I would say X.
Yeah.
I really like this movie.
Yeah, it's great.
And then Fall of the House of Usher. I think that one was a really fantastic one.
Have you seen, because the one that I think on the documentary Scorsese says is his favourite one is the Liberia one. What's that? Tomb of Liberia, or...
I don't remember that one, honestly. Was that made by...
Oh yeah, it's definitely a Corman one. It's one of the rarer Poe movies. I love all his 70s Philippine blaxploitation stuff.
Now, I've only watched one of those with you. I don't know the rest.
I love all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he gave the world Pam Grier. That's reason enough
fair enough.
to consider Corman a god in my world.
The big birdcage or something?
He did the birdcage. He did the Hot Box. He did a whole bunch of Women in Chain movies. Because of course Corman did all the Slumber Party Massacres, which was released as the Shock Factory. He did all the Blood Fists with Don the Dragon Wilson, which was what's interesting is as he goes into the 80s, he has every other studio has like a martial artist star doing movies. You have Van Damme, and you've got Seagal over at Seagal at Universal or Paramount. Then you've got like Jeff Speakman does The Perfect Weapon and whatever. And then Don the Dragon Wilson was Blood Fist series at the Roger Corman studio, and you can tell they're Corman movies because by the time you get to like Blood Fist 3, 4, 5, they have nothing to do with like Blood Fist 1 and 2. He's just calling them that to maintain it.
They're
it's
not
like
even the same character.
Right. It's like Slumber Party Massacre 3 has nothing to do with the other two, and then they even did a sequel to that, which in some locations was called Slumber Party Massacre 4, that isn't even a slumber party. That was actually, I interviewed Jim Wynorski about it. It's a Wynorski film. It's
that explains a lot.
I forget the name of it now, of course, which is terrible. But it's a Die Hard ripoff, basically with women in their underwear, which is Wynorski all over, really.
Yeah, that sounds good.
But no, Tomb of Ligeia is the one that Scorsese quotes as being like his bona fide classic.
Oh, okay.
But it also smacks a bit to me. I've got it. I haven't sat down and watched it yet, but it smacks a bit to me of Scorsese going, which is the rare Poe film he did? I'll pick that one. You know what I mean? Because like everyone knows The Raven and Red Death and those ones.
Am I wrong? Maybe the Tomb of Ligeia is what I'm thinking of. I thought it was the Fall of House of Usher,
but it's a Vincent Price, Poe, Corman, and obviously Robert Towne, who is obviously an Oscar-winning screenwriter now.
Oh, right.
Because he did Chinatown, right? Didn't he?
Is that right?
Yeah, He did Chinatown.
Okay, that's a fantastic script. Oh, and also Mission Impossible. So
yeah, and
he's really the man.
And he has a beard, according to IMDb. Which I always
Days
like.
of Thunder. This guy's a genius.
He wrote Chinatown. Let's just leave it there.
That was the top 4 movies on his IMDb page were Mission Impossible 2, Chinatown, and Days of Thunder.
Yeah, I dislike the fact, although obviously it has Statham in it, that on Roger Corman's IMDb page, the number 1 film he's apparently known for is Death Race 2008.
Right.
Which is not the case at all.
No, it's a terrible film. Well, you know what? I didn't watch it because I didn't care about it.
It's a good film, but it's not Death Race 2000 in any way at all. It's completely different. It's just called Death Race 2000, I guess, it's just called Death Race, I guess.
You couldn't call it 2000 and 2008.
Right. But it's
too late.
Right. It's too late.
It's like when Conan O'Brien in the year 2000, he was still doing those in the year 2000 jokes.
Yeah, but didn't he change it to the year 3000 at some point?
When he went to the Tonight Show.
Oh, okay.
He did. But
now he can't do any of those
until like 2005, bits. He was doing those, I think.
Yeah, he can't do any of those bits anymore,
then, right? Intellectual property.
They're all owned by NBC.
Yeah.
Fuck NBC. But anyway, let's go back to what we were looking at, which was X. The Man with the X-Ray Eyes, which I recently picked up on the Roger Corman collection, which is available on Amazon. It's a really good box set. It's got some great stuff on it.
You should link it on your...
I will do.
On the page.
I will do. In fact, we now have a store through Amazon Associates. So if people want to buy this box set or anything... any movie that we've covered on the After Movie Diner, you can through our store.
A box of cereal, or
and it will give us, it'll chuck a few shekels our way. It won't cost you any more,
right?
But it'll give us a couple of bucks back or whatever it is, a couple of cents.
Good move.
Yeah. So by all means, go to the After Movie Diner store, which is on the Blogspot page and the .com page, and purchase your After Movie Diner favorites. And give us a couple of shekels that cost you no more. Which you can do with the Roger Corman collection. It's fantastic. But this stars Ray Milland, which is the guy I know mainly from The Thing with Two Heads. I have to keep reminding myself because I've seen the two-headed transplant recently as well.
The Amazing Two-Headed Transplant?
The Amazing Two-Headed Transplant. There's also another one called Manster, which is another two-headed...
Oh, is that what that's about?
Yeah, there's another two-headed movie.
I want to say I've seen it, but I cannot remember all of them.
We found all 3 of them on Netflix. Surprise, surprise.
Okay. I knew The Thing with Two Heads was streaming because I was thinking about pitching that one to cover.
Yeah. That's a great one. That's a fantastic one.
Incredible.
You can get a double disc of that and the Amazing Two-Headed Transplant as a double disc.
Okay.
On Amazon. But it's I don't like the second one. I prefer The Thing with the Two Heads. I think that's a better film. And that has Ray Milland as the old white
and Rosie Greer as
misogynist.
Soul Brother.
The Soul Brother, yes indeed.
Big old they transplanted a white bigot's head onto a Soul Brother's body.
Yeah, the doctor blew it. The most fantastic medical experiment of the age.
I saw a few minutes of it this weekend at a friend's place.
Yeah,
I forgot how hilarious it is.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. And then it ends with them singing like an old spiritual in the car. That's the last shot. They're singing like, I don't think it's Kumbaya, but it's something like an old... weirdly, considering we were just watching the Bruce Springsteen thing, it might even be John Henry, I'm not sure. But they're singing some old, American folk, American roots, spiritual kind of song. And that's how the movie ends, which is completely bizarre. But no, it has Ray Milland in it. Does it have anyone else of note in it? I didn't... Oh, Don Rickles, of course. Does it have anyone else of note in it?
Dick Miller.
Dick Miller shows up for his obligatory Corman cameo.
Yeah, he was in it for about 4 minutes, maybe, all told.
He played as a 38-year-old. He valiantly played a 27-year-old.
Yeah. He's probably listed as wise ass punk in the credits or something. Oh no, they said his name because he was part of that.
He's just uncredited as a heckler.
Mentallo act.
Yeah.
Oh, he was uncredited?
He was uncredited as a heckler. But give us the plot rundown, man. Tell us all about the movie.
Oh, okay. So Dr. James Xavier,
yeah,
is working with an experimental formula to expand the range of human vision.
Yeah. So he's worked out we can only see 10% of the spectrum or something.
Yes, and he wants to see the rest of it.
And who doesn't?
It's administered through eye drops.
It kills a monkey.
Kills a monkey, so he immediately says, I'll take it next.
And then they're like,
As
but
you
it
do.
killed the monkey. He was like, but I'm a man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, what was the point of using a monkey for the experiment then if there's no relation
Right,
in his
of course.
mind?
Yeah, of course. And also, the test of the monkey pushing the buttons to light the bulbs, I didn't understand, because it's like, surely the monkey's just pressing buttons. Surely the monkey doesn't get...
They said that he was trained through the usual reward and something. Like, you would get food, you know.
Like Pavlov's dog
Yeah,
type
like
thing.
that
Right.
kind of thing. So when the monkey sees a white light, he presses that button. When he sees a red light, he presses that button. But they were all... The colors were covered by a screen.
Right.
So he shouldn't have been able to see them.
Right.
But then he could because he had the amazing...
I still feel that the monkey was probably just pushing buttons.
Oh, the monkey on the cage?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the monkey actor?
No. I'm just saying. I'm saying that. No. I'm not saying the monkey actor really had X-ray vision. I'm saying.
I'm saying
The test to me, if I was looking to put something into my body, would not be conclusive just because a monkey pressed a few switches.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, a big factor for me would be that he immediately died.
Right. In a really sweet way. He kind of curls up, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Lies down. He's like, that's it. I'm done.
He saw something that he couldn't handle
Yeah.
through the spectrum of whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised monkeys can handle anything, to be honest.
Right.
Like, the monkey must have been like, well, here I am, monkeying about, and then, whoa, fuck, and then, of course, you would die. Your brain would explode. Your little monkey brain
I
would...
think that's exactly what happened.
That's probably what happened. So, and then he's with this woman, isn't he? Diane Van de Vries, who plays Diane Fairfax.
Who apparently was a doctor.
I don't know, she was the head of some...
Well, at the end, she said she restarted her practice.
Right.
But she was actually in charge of the foundation that
Right.
was granting him money to work on this.
And she was checking him out
Yeah.
to see if he was legitimate.
So they take him before the board. Oh, and he has his friend, Dr. Sam something,
Yes, Dr. Sam Brandt, played by Howell J. Stone.
who is an optometrist
Yes.
who constantly warns him not to do this
Yeah,
and then helps him do it.
yeah. And his reward is to be punched out of a window.
I mean, as much as I do like this movie, there's some pretty ridiculous bits.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like Corman's track record of, okay, 10 minutes have gone by and nothing amazing has happened, so in this scene he's going to knock a dude out of a plate glass window onto the street below. It's just anything to get him on the run, I guess.
Right, exactly. That's all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
He administers the eye drops. He starts to see all kinds of colors and things.
And then he starts having X-ray vision to some extent.
Yes, and we are treated to a scene in a party where he sees everyone naked, sort of.
Yeah, we only the backs of people.
Yeah, you see women's backs and men's chests and a lot of calves.
Yeah, there was almost buttocks. There was almost buttocks.
in one thing.
Yeah,
So
no
like-
balls,
So
thank
the very
God.
bottom of them.
Yeah, but so he goes around a party, which, you know, we were both sat there watching and thinking, you know what, if we suddenly had X-ray vision, surely naked women and like gambling in Vegas are the two things you would do
Absolutely.
immediately. You'd be like, there was an old joke because there was an old comic book that we had growing up, and I forget if it was in the Beano, the Dandy, or the Buster, but they were like the three British comic books, and they were comic books that had strips in as opposed to
Full stories.
full stories like Marvel or DC.
Yeah.
And one of them had a character called X-Ray Specs. And he went round like solving crimes and stuff, right? And we were all like, hang on a second. If you had X-ray specs, the last thing you would do is go around solving crimes. You would go around gambling and looking at topless chicks.
Yeah, exactly.
Or, well, not topless. They would appear topless to you. But,
And they should.
right, exactly.
If you have
But I
extra
know
specs.
what I liked about this movie was that each time he administered the thing, he could see through another layer.
Right, and it got to the point where it was just like a kaleidoscope at the end. You
Right.
couldn't
You
couldn't
couldn't
make out
see anything. But there was some great, like, poetic bits, like as he was kind of when the bit where they were driving away from Vegas. Was they driving away from it? No, driving towards Vegas, away from LA or wherever they had been.
Yeah.
And he was talking about the city. I see wires without poles, and I see Scaffolding Without Stone, and all this stuff.
Skeleton of a City. Or
Yeah. I See the Land of the Dead, and all this sort of stuff. It was like this great, like poetic soliloquy that Milland was
really good, and of course Ray Milland is a great actor.
Right.
What do you see?
This city, as if it were unborn, rising into the sky with fingers of metal, limbs without flesh, girders without stone, signs hanging without support, wires dipping and swaying without poles. A city unborn, flesh dissolved in an acid of light. A city of the dead.
He's fantastic.
Who was, I believe, only nominated for an Academy Award. I do not believe he won.
For Lost Weekend.
Lost Weekend, yeah.
Right, which is his favorite
Which
one.
is very similar to this movie in ways.
Yeah.
Like, it's about a guy who's out of control.
Right.
Facing an addiction. Ray Milland, as Dr. Xavier, is obsessed. On his IMDb page, it's definitely a picture from Lost Weekend.
Yeah, definitely. He was in Dial M for Murder as well, I was saying here.
Oh, he had a long career. He's in a lot of stuff. Yeah, I mean, he's controlled by this obsession that he has to see through the spectrum of light. Just the same way that his character in Lost Weekend was controlled by his compulsion to drink.
Right, or there's Doctor in Two-Headed, the thing with the two heads or whatever it's called. I should know it. It's one of my favorite. I'm not even kidding. It's just, there's so many two-headed movies I can't even...
The amazing thing with the two-headed transplant.
Right. In that movie, he's obsessed about, like, grafting bits of bodies onto other bodies and replacing whole limbs and things like that.
Doesn't he only do that in the opening, though?
But that's what he wants to do, and then he keels over.
He dies,
and in order to keep his head alive, they stitch it onto Rosie Greer's body.
Because he's the only one with the body big enough.
Or something like that. But no, I think he's on death row or something. It's one of those things.
They bring him in. The police bring him in handcuffs.
Right, yeah.
Definitely.
So, but it's the same in the other one. One's a criminal and one's a simpleton.
Oh, right. I have seen that one too.
Yeah. But, Milland tends to play characters who are obsessive, who are focused and whatever. But he goes through the range of performances in this one, because he goes from, like, at the beginning, where he seems to be a very austere, misogynistic, typical 60s kind of, you wouldn't understand this, you're a woman kind of
I
guy.
read your report. Yes, but did you understand it?
No, I don't even think he said did. I think he just went out, yes, but you didn't understand it. I think he just like dismissed her entirely. Then he gets to the party.
And now she's in love after that.
Right, of course. She's just like, swoon.
He put me in my place.
Yeah, right.
That's a real man.
They were simpler times, man, I tell you. How do we get back there? No, I'm kidding. How do we turn back the clock on feminism? I wouldn't want that at all, really. Yes, I would. No, I'm kidding. So,
not kidding.
No, I'm not kidding. And then he goes to the party, and he gets all happy that he can see tits. Like, he starts laughing, and then when she comes over, he's like, you're a very beautiful woman. And all of a sudden, he becomes very enamored with the idea of seeing bosoms everywhere.
He didn't really seem to be that enamored of it. He seemed to be just more like, oh, this is pretty funny that I can do this.
Right. Then he becomes...
And then he let her know that he could see her naked.
Right.
Diane.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, you cheeky bastard. But she's clearly enjoying it.
She's absolutely fine with it, because he says, and don't forget, Diane, I am a doctor. That's his line, which is great. I imagined a remake of this with James Spader in the role.
Yeah.
He would be incredible in the role as a sleazy guy going around. You wouldn't have any of the other aspects of the movie. He would just be looking at women and like rubbing his legs.
Oh, it'd be like what's Captain Picard's real name?
Oh, Patrick Stewart.
Patrick Stewart's pitch.
Seriously, man, my names and films and things just go out of my head.
No, he used to have more of this. It's like his pitch on Ricky Gervais's Extras.
Yes.
And where he has telekinesis, but he uses it to make women's clothes fall off.
Yeah, right. And I'm walking out the road, and I see a woman, and her clothes fall off.
And she tries to cover herself, but by then I've seen everything. That is the best moment of that show.
Yeah,
it's a good
definitely.
show, too. But
Extras I prefer to The Office, definitely.
yeah, it was really good.
I really liked
the
Extras.
whistle blows. We probably shouldn't talk about Ricky Gervais for too long.
No.
Are we going to just run down the whole plot? Is that how we're going to go?
Yeah, we're all over the place, but that's fine. We're talking still about the movie, so...
So he gets his funding cut because he has 1 day's worth of research,
Yes.
and they don't like it
Right, and
because that's how science works.
Yes.
You have to have immediate results or they pull the plug.
That's it, right.
So he gets really upset.
Even though he technically has immediate results, because he goes into a children's ward, and looks into the little girl's chest to see that the heart bypass, whatever they were going to do, is wrong. She's really got a tumor in her
ventricle or something.
Whatever.
But it's on the other side of the heart that guy wants to operate on, the other doctor.
Right. And
he tries to convince him that he's wrong, and of course he's a doctor, so he doesn't believe he's ever wrong.
Right. So he's like, no, you're foolish, forget it, whatever. But he still wants him to scrub in on the surgery, which is completely bizarre.
So he does. And he Ray Milland, Xavier, tries one more time to get other doctor to listen to him.
Yeah, right.
And when he won't listen to him, he grabs the scalpel and slices his hand.
Slices the back of his hand, which the doctor, because he's old and it's in the 60s and I'm a doctor, doesn't react to it at all. Even though if anyone, you could take fucking, Lou Ferrigno, whatever, or Arnold Schwarzenegger, if you slice the back of the hand with a scalpel, you go, ow.
Yeah, or if you're Lou Ferrigno, you go, no!
Exactly, but all I'm saying is you would have a reaction.
Yes.
You would just be like, oh, dash it all, he's cut the back of my hand.
Well, look at what you've done.
Right.
And Ray Milland, when he cuts him, he's like, there, now you can't perform the surgery.
Right.
Like, he knows he's incapacitated him, right?
Yeah, exactly.
He's ruined his surgery.
Exactly. He's just cut the tendons on the back of his hand. So then Ray Milland performs the surgery, gets it perfect, saves the child, and then they're like, we're going to do you for malpractice.
Yeah, but another doctor just steps up to take Ray Milland's place when he goes around the other side of the table.
Yeah.
And no one says anything like, hey, maybe this crazy guy who just cut a doctor shouldn't be operating.
Right, there's a whole bunch of people in the room and not one of them try and fight off Milland. They're just all like, oh, well, we'll let him do it now, I guess. That's the way it works.
I guess by right of combat,
yes,
you won the surgical rights.
They had a surgical duel, is what it's called. They'd laid down the rubber glove of Gauntlet, whatever it is.
Surgeons are the first to tell you that might makes right.
Yes, definitely. Of course. They're used to cutting into people all the time. They love it.
Hello there, farmers and possibly city dwellers who listen to the After Movie Diner. I'm interrupting this episode just quickly to make you aware of a new web series. That's right, a series on the interwebs. It's called My Synthesized Life. It's by Nate Golon, and it's absolutely phenomenal. I do suggest you check it out. It's over there on YouTube, would you believe? That's a tube for you. www.youtube.com/My Synthesized Life. It's all about a guy who's on his way to work and he has a kind of panic car accident thing involving coffee and a radio, and he gets electrocuted, and all of a sudden when he's in nervous perplexing situations or uncomfortable scenarios, he starts to talk all kind of weird, like his voice has gone all synthesized, not like mine, not like this wonderful voice that I have that can't decide what accent it's doing. Instead, it starts to have a sort of sing-songy Cher-like thing from that song where she was like, do you believe in love or something, and her voice went all... His voice starts to do that, only like a robot. Anyway, it's hilarious. It's very well written, very well performed. I like it. It's strong direction, and it's fantastic web series. There's 5 episodes, count them, 1 through 5, on YouTube at the moment. So go to www.youtube.com/My Synthesized Life. Or you can go over to Facebook to www.facebook.com/My Synthesized Life. Or equally, you could find him on Twitter and follow them there, or follow Nate Golon himself at Nate Golon, I believe.
Anyway, My Synthesized Life. It gets the After-Movie Diner seal of approval. I suggest you all go watch it, like it, share it, tell all your friends about it. Let's get them getting some hits on the old tube for you, eh? How about that? My Synthesized Life. It's a web series on YouTube. Go watch it. I like it, so should you. Thank you. Now back to the show.
So that happens. So he's like, okay, well, we've got to get away from here. Diane is apparently still on board with this.
Well, yeah, but she's now very smitten.
She is. And they go to his friend, and they're all like, we could do it ourselves. We could get the money and we could do it ourselves. Fuck these other people.
Right, yes.
And
this is Dr. Sam.
Yeah. And in the midst of that, he says to Sam, get away!
Well, Sam loads what I assume to be a tranquilizer.
Sure, something like that. Because Milland is getting a little...
He's getting pretty shaky now.
Shaky, yeah.
He's getting agitated.
Keeps giving the eye drops to himself. He's like 3 or 4 pipettes worth at this point.
Right, and he's clearly now in the throes of addiction.
Right, yeah.
He's not listening to reason at all.
No.
So he's going to give him the sedative, and Milland goes, no! And he sort of gives him a backhand.
Yeah.
But to his shoulder or something.
Yes.
Which sends Sam hurtling through a window, which shatters immediately as soon as he kind of stumbles into it.
Yes.
And he falls, I don't know, 6 stories or something.
And it doesn't just break the window slightly. He goes through the entire window.
Yeah, it clears out all the panes and all of the woodwork inside the window.
Yeah.
It's not just a big window, it's like little windows.
Little crosshatch, whatever.
Whatever you call that, I don't know.
And he falls all the way out to his death.
Yeah.
And then Diane says, we've got to get out of here. No one's going to believe you didn't kill him, even though there's no evidence. He could have easily just thrown himself out of the window, but...
The only evidence is her.
Right.
They probably should have thrown her out the window, too.
Right, exactly. And then just, I don't know, done up his tie and strolled out calmly. Yeah. What else is going to happen? But
instead, he immediately goes on the lam.
But he's like, you saw what happened, so you know I didn't do it, even though he kind of did it.
Well, he did it. It's just it was framed so ridiculously.
Right. I just think it's probably Dr. Brandt's fault for not having better glaciers who did his windows.
Really? He should sue the architect.
Right. I would have gone double glazing on that, man. I would have done the whole bit. Insulation, then there wouldn't have been the problem. You can't smash that as easily. Or some form of tempered glass, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe someday if I'm dealing with a contractor, I'll ask them. If I just sort of fell into this window... not at any kind of speed or anything. If I just sort of leaned over too hard, would it shatter completely and send me hurtling through?
Yeah. And if so, what would you suggest for that eventuality? Can I have some form of trampoline placed outside my window?
Let me show you a quick movie clip. This is what I don't want to happen.
I imagine that clip is utilized in Glazier's health and safety books.
Don't let this happen to you.
Yeah. No! Bang! Ah! Through the window.
Use caution when around windows.
Yes, indeed. So that sends him off to Vegas.
No, that sends him off to...
That sends him off to the Don Rickles Carnival section of the movie, where he suddenly becomes this hep cat with his black sunglasses and his cigarette out of his mouth,
and hanging out of his mouth. Loses his tie.
Suddenly becomes a kind of
cool suit.
Beatnik Jimmy Stewart almost is what he becomes.
That's really what he looks like.
Yeah.
And the glasses are just enormous.
They are,
and they completely surround his eyes.
Well, that's later. Initially it's just
big glasses.
Ray-Ban style, Blues Brothers style, and then later on he puts on the blinkers, but the old horse blinker type.
Right, those are not cool.
No, they're not cool. They make it look like he's wearing some mad
scientist goggles. Or
right,
something
what are they called? The artificial. Is it AI, AL? What is it? The where you can put it on and you.
VR, virtual reality.
Virtual reality. That's it.
VR glasses. Okay.
It looks like it. Yeah, it looks like he's wearing big virtual reality glasses.
It does.
But initially, he is doing a sideshow.
Oh, just real quick, the glasses that he wears, I realize where I've seen them that are cool. The first class of
Yes.
Ray-Bans. The Felix Leiter from James Bond, who looks like Jim Jarmusch. He's got pale hair, very like white hair.
The one before David Hedison?
I don't know any of their names.
Oh, okay. David Hedison's the one who plays him in Live and Let Die.
I think this was before.
Before that. I know who you mean.
Oh, no, because it was definitely a Connery Bond.
So it's 60s.
Yeah.
They're definitely the 60s shades.
Yeah.
The ones that you know as like the hefty man 60s shades. They're awesome. Very, very cool.
Very good. But yeah, so his act.
So his act is to, read bits of paper through a blindfold, essentially.
He's got a blindfold with one giant eye painted on it.
Right.
Yeah.
But obviously you can see through that.
Yeah, so he's working on a Carney show for the Carney Barker, who is Don Rickles.
Yes, Don
in
Rickles.
a loud red Hawaiian shirt with a leather vest over it.
Of course. And Rickles carries it off like a pro.
Totally. He looks like a total scumbag.
And later he wears a little straw hat as well, which is
that's
fantastic.
great, yeah.
The little boho, Hobian sort of straw hat.
But it's like...
Probably been living on the sidewalk for a long time.
It's like 1 or 2 sizes too small for his head. It just sits on top of his head.
I imagine most things are 1 or 2 sizes smaller than Don Rickles' head.
It was like a triple extra large head.
Yeah. I think when Don Rickles passes away, you could use his head as a bowling ball without having to do any kind of modifications to it. You could just
pick it up and go.
Sure, it's perfectly spherical.
But it should be used as a hockey puck.
You think so?
Yeah, just for tradition's sake.
Of course. So yes, then we have the scene with Dick Miller in it.
Yes.
Where he comes in with his friend, he's like, this guy's a fraud, this guy's a fake, and then he tells him, we never find out like what he's looking at that tells him his name, where he comes from, and all that information.
I assumed he was reading it off of his wallet or something in his pocket.
Right, even though there wasn't a clear line to his wallet.
No, not really.
No.
But then he read the inscription on his watch.
He read a letter that was in his pocket from
right.
A woman that he had abandoned.
Which, if you abandon a woman, she's pregnant, right?
Right.
Otherwise, you've just left.
Yes. That means that I think that he was trying to tell everyone, don't worry, Miller is scum.
Yeah.
And that's basically what he was saying.
And then he gets all worked up and flees.
He gets all worked up. Miller runs out. Rickles is trying to find out, like, what's this guy's story.
Yeah. Oh, what was his name? Was it like Mentallo or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Because the idea was that he could read your thoughts.
Yes. Which
That
wasn't
was
true
the
at
act.
all.
The act was that he could read your thoughts, but in
Right.
reality, he could just see through the blindfold.
Read bits of paper.
Yeah.
So-
But we haven't talked about his costume.
No, his costume was incredible. It was like
blindfold,
one of...
sure, but he's got like a gold wizard's robe.
Yeah, I imagine it's the kind of thing Seagal wears around the house. Just like lazing by his jacuzzi. It was sort of a slightly Asian-looking wizard's robe, but gold with...
With a scorpion, I think, on it.
Possibly. It was very ornate. And orange and...
It's got a couple of things
Eastern.
Decoupaged onto it.
Right.
I don't know what
and
that
he couldn't
word means.
look less Eastern, so it was
no.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Because, he did, for that period, look a bit like Seagal, wandering around. You could kind of see Seagal wearing that moo-moo around.
Wasn't
the house.
nearly fat enough.
Nobody's fat enough.
Ray Milland was in pretty good shape for his age. It looked like.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But that's what I wanted you all to picture. And then there was...
He could Photoshop
Just
Seagal's head
picture
onto it.
Seagal. It's like, I can read your mind, Johnny. Then a woman improbably was flung off the top of the merry-go-round.
Is it no, not a merry-go-round.
Ferris wheel.
Ferris wheel, yes. There's...
broke her leg and 2 ribs.
This is something I brought up while we were watching it. There is no way to film an actual carnival that doesn't look like shit.
Right.
They just look like the worst places on earth.
Right.
And it's interspersed. There's the scenes where he's working as Mentallo or whatever is a soundstage. But yes, they show a scene from one of these carnivals.
She falls out of film into soundstage.
Yeah, did she fall though? I don't think she fell. They just added a scream over...
Well, you saw the Ferris wheel.
Yeah.
And then the camera whipped up
and span around as if the camera fell out of the Ferris wheel.
Oh, okay.
And then she fell into shot.
Okay.
So I'm assuming she fell off the Ferris wheel.
That's what I thought was supposed to
She was
happen.
standing up being all like, hello, I'm on a Ferris wheel, or whatever.
I guess you'd have to do that. You can't fall out of a Ferris wheel.
Yeah, I don't know. Unless you're climbing up onto it.
Right.
Beverly Hills Cop 3 style. It's a weird reference, John. But yeah.
So she screams, and then she's on the sidewalk, and he comes over. And this is the thing. He cannot stop revealing his powers.
He has to tell everybody.
Yeah.
that
He
can
goes,
see.
oh, okay, her leg's broken. And
both her ribs.
Yeah, and tells him her ribs are broken. But, like, if she's not dead, or she's not seriously hurt, and for whatever reason, she had 2 broken ribs and a broken leg.
Yeah.
Amazingly, she's alive.
Yeah, so don't worry, people. If you ever fall out of a Ferris wheel onto concrete, you're fine.
So he sets her leg with some boards and rope.
That Rickles finds.
Yeah. And then, but he tells everybody she has 2 broken ribs for no reason.
Right.
Like, he doesn't do anything with the ribs.
No.
He says it to tell the physician when there's a doctor coming.
Yeah.
He'll figure it out. He's a doctor.
But he's a doctor in the 1960s, so he's, as you said earlier, completely drunk. And probably on his 4th packet of Marlboros.
That's what I assumed was the excuse that the first doctor who got his hand cut, why he couldn't feel it.
He couldn't feel anything because he was
dead
pickled.
drunk.
He was pickled in absinthe and vodka and gin. So he does that, and then he has to flee the carnival thing. And no, then he doesn't have to flee. I'm sorry. Rickles then sees the potential in him and says, "We're going to set you up as a healer," even though he's not a healer. He just diagnoses.
Well, he called him a healer because he set the leg, and and he diagnosed again like a doctor.
Right.
So he knew that he had medical training or whatever. Something.
He was able to spot a broken rib.
Right.
Right. So they then set up in this like abandoned building on another soundstage.
Which one had the purple door with the red blood painted all over it?
That was his Carney. That was his green room in the Carney, the dressing room.
Yeah.
Which looked like another set from a Corman movie called The Door Drip Blood or something.
It probably was.
Yeah. It literally looked like the paint was painted in such a shambolic way that the paint was running down the door like blood. It was really terrible.
Really
and it was
bad.
purple and red. Like it looked like a bordello or something. It was ridiculous.
The bordello that dripped blood.
Right, it could have been that. And then they set him up as a healer. He starts for $2 seemingly, because that's all Don Rickles seems to take off.
Well, they're taking donations from poor people.
Right.
There isn't actually a set fee. They're just getting what they can get.
But Rickles is pocketing it all.
Of course.
Milland is not making any money.
Crane, he was a
He needs to keep himself in Hawaiian shirts and vests. That's what he needs.
And head polish.
And then Diane shows up, admitting that she's restarted her practice.
She's left the foundation.
And she had a bunch of patients who came in, knew exactly what was wrong with them, because a guy saw it in them.
Yep.
So she suddenly knew, aha, he's back in town. It took her a month to find him. We're not quite sure how or
He
why.
did not set up shop twice.
No.
Only once.
Yes.
And people who saw him and this miracle, what did they do? It and tell her?
Right.
They wouldn't tell her where he was?
Right. Just some guy. Who? Just some guy. Where? I'm not telling you that.
I don't remember.
I don't know where I was. I was drunk at the time.
Look, I witnessed a miracle. I don't have to remember every detail.
I know he had a blue suit. Does that help?
He had these funky goggles on.
Yeah. So she shows up, says that all the people have been being diagnosed by this guy, and Rickles bursts in and admits, "I know who you really are, Dr. James Xavier. You are a criminal, but I didn't mind. I let you stay here. I have power over you. If you disappear, I'm going to call the cops."
Which relates back to a conversation that the Carney people had.
Right.
They were like, "Oh, if we had your power, we would learn people's secrets and we would control them."
That creepy guy who was at the carnival, who was just sat around in the cafeteria area, who went,
why don't you take power? Why don't you take control? Why don't you tell people what to do? If I had your power, I'd be going around telling people exactly what to do. I'd be like, what, you'd be a megalomaniacal madman? I mean,
yeah, and you'd be getting punched in the face.
Right.
And you wouldn't even be able to see it coming because you can't see right in front of you anymore.
You could just see through the fist as it came at you.
But yeah, everyone in movies like this, you get this one very specific ability, and people think that you can take over the world.
Right.
Which...
I'm trying to think, if you could see through things, really how you could take over the world. I mean, like we said, apart from like burning through some Vegas casinos, which you'd have to be careful doing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Especially if you had to wear glasses all the time because
of your freaky contacts.
Right, because of your crazy eyes.
Yeah.
They might think that you had some mirrors on your glasses. In fact, I don't know that you can wear shades in Vegas.
At the table?
I don't think you can.
I can see that being a rule. You have to go to Texas Hold'em tournaments.
Right.
Pick a part of your crazy costume.
Right, exactly. You'd have to be a celebrity poker or something like that.
Right.
But even so, you would have to maybe do a little bit at this table and lose a couple of hands so it didn't look ridiculous. I mean, if you knew you could earn millions through this gift, you could afford to get up to 15,000 and then lose 5,000 just to make it look like you weren't. But then even in Vegas, when they get to Vegas, because then after she shows up, they run off to Vegas.
Yeah, he takes off.
They got
Rickles behind.
He does his soliloquy about the dead city.
Yeah.
And then they get to Vegas because they want money to go south of the border to continue working on their experiment.
And in a neat moment, he immediately goes to a slot machine.
Yeah.
And I was like, why is he wasting his time with a slot machine? Oh, he had to get some money to gamble with.
Yeah.
So then he goes to the blackjack table.
Yes, they put 2 quarters in, gets the money, goes to the blackjack table. And like you say, his arrogance is such that at a certain point when he's 15, 20 grand up and the casino is understandably wait a minute, this guy can't lose and this is weird and something's wrong and blah, blah, blah,
He starts
blah.
just yelling. They can't keep me from winning.
Right.
I'll show you how to win.
But he sits around a table with 3 other people and reveals precisely what the guy has in his hand.
Yeah.
He's like, this guy has a face hand, you're only going to have a 16, everyone should stick, don't take any more money.
And the next card is a king.
Right.
Why would you do that?
Why would you do that? Your cover is blown.
He just freaks out and then he tries to leave.
And then has to throw all his money over everybody in order to cause a kerfuffle.
Cash in his chips. Of course, the manager and the security team, or guard, there's one guy, come over and we like to have a word with you. Since
we want to make sure you didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, he told him how he cheated.
And he was like, what's it to you? And he's like, well, he owns the casino. But he's like, what's it to you? And pushed him out of the way, hoping there would be a window there, I presume. But there wasn't. They were still on the ground floor.
And then he flung a bunch of cash in the air.
Got rid of all his cash, seemingly.
I think so. And then, so there's a mob that begins trying to stuff money down their dresses.
He then takes off in a car chase with a helicopter across the plains of California, they say. So I guess he drove out of Vegas pretty quickly.
Yeah, well, he had the pedal down.
Yeah, but he loses his glasses, and we find out that his eyes have gone from slightly red, weird eyes that he had earlier to black eyes with gold pupils.
Yeah, and that's a really cool-looking contact lens.
It's a very cool-looking contact lens. Of course, back then...
Actually, he may have had all black eyes by this point.
No. He still had the gold pupils. He only has the black eyes once he gets to the tent revival place.
Okay. So, yeah, there's a long car chase.
There's a long car chase where seemingly he can't really see very much.
He can't see anything in the normal spectrum anymore.
No, it's all kaleidoscopic colors and vague, blurred imagery.
So he runs a bunch of people off the road.
Right. Much like the experience I get when I try and watch Magenta and Cyan 3D. That's kind of what it looked like.
What is that?
You know the old 3D that was blue in one eye and red in the other?
Okay. I gotcha.
Cyan and Magenta, they and you would watch it and then they would triple print the movie so that it was slightly blurred, and then when you put the glasses on it would push them together and make them 3D, except that in my eyes it doesn't, it just makes them purple. Everything just looks purple and blurred.
because my eyes have very difficulty focusing through the pink and blue glasses.
Okay.
I've tried to watch Friday the 13th 100 times using the red and blue 3D glasses you get with it, and it doesn't have the
work for you.
effect.
Huh,
No.
that's wild.
Very annoying, but it is what it is. But that's what it looks like when he's that through the prism of a kaleidoscope.
Yeah. So somewhere along the way, he loses the helicopter. I don't know how.
Well, he goes through a tunnel and then crashes his car.
Yes.
And then he climbs out of the crashed car, stumbles down to a train yard, and right by the train yard there's a tent revival meeting going on.
Yeah.
With a guy talking about heaven and hell. Very simplistic stuff.
Yeah.
He's like, who do we love? The Lord! Who do we hate? Satan!
He said, what do we hate? Sin.
Oh, that's it. What do we hate? Sin. That's it, yeah. What do we love? Cake! What do we hate? Sin!
Yeah,
I kind of like sin. Shut up, you.
Eating too much cake is a sin.
Stop bringing it down for everyone, Gerald. He staggers in, goes up to the preacher, opens his eyes to reveal that his eyes have gone completely black.
Yeah. Which also looks really interesting.
It looks really interesting, but if I was like a fire and brimstone type preacher and I saw that, I would assume he was the hooved one. I would presume
totally.
he was like Satan.
It was odd that they didn't say anything.
Yeah, that he was
Are you a sinner? Look at his eyes.
Yeah, right, look at him. He's got and not only that, but back then it was basically like having bottle caps in your eyes. It wasn't the thin contacts that you have today. It was like a big, thick bit of plastic.
Yeah.
I'm only going by the fact that the ones they use in Evil Dead, the white ones in the early 80s, they were thick glass. They were sclero glass contacts that you were totally blind from. And you could only keep them in for 15 minutes. So I can only imagine going back 20 years from that. They've got to be...
It was even worse.
Glass or plastic or something. I mean, those bits at the end, they looked like they were really in his... It wasn't just contact lenses. It was clear that he had a big thing of plastic in his eyes. I mean, Ray Milland's eyes throughout the whole movie are watering, and I can't imagine that's all fake. I think his eyes were probably fucking...
Yeah, they were probably just giving him Visine right before the scene.
Yeah.
And he was taking eye drops through the whole thing.
Right.
So.
Right.
But yeah, he was very watery eyes through that.
And he was probably like, oh, don't worry about it. I can do it for a low-budget Corman-like movie that 5 people are going to see in a drive-in. It's worth it, right? For the art.
Certainly.
And then, scratched retina and whatever.
And that part was really cool, too, because he started to tell everyone. It said, are you here to tell something your sins?
Right.
And he said, no, I'm here to tell you what I see.
Yes.
And he was talking about that there's darkness all around us, and then beyond that there's a light.
And the center of the universe is a giant eye that's watching us.
Right.
Is what he said. Which I don't know whether that's some the mind's eye, or whether it's like God's eye, or...
I assumed it was an allusion to God, because there's some stuff from the beginning that ties back to that.
Right.
Where he was saying he wanted to see everything, and someone said only the gods can see everything.
Right, of course. Yes.
And I thought that was where they were going with it. Now he can see... Because he talks about how he can't sleep at night. He can't stop seeing everything.
Yeah, because he can't... I said at one point to you, well, he wouldn't be able to sleep. He'd see right through his eyelids.
Yeah, and then 15 minutes later, he says it himself.
Because even when they put bandages on his eyes, he sees through the bandages.
Yeah, there's nothing that can block his vision anymore.
No, he says at one point, I just want darkness.
Yes.
And then at the end, he seems to have had some massive revelation.
Yeah, he's seen the center of the universe, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the preacher says, well, if the right eye offends thee...
Pluck it out.
Pluck it out. And he kind of goes, okay... Bends down out of frame, grabbing his eyeballs, and then stands up into frame and...
Just empty red sockets.
End of movie!
That's it. That's the end.
Jump scare at the end.
Yeah.
Very cool jump scare, though.
Very cool. I really like that part.
And then it ends over, this cool, upside-down, printed, slightly kaleidoscopic colour of like cityscapes going by.
Yeah, just over the end credits, it just kind of does that for a while.
Yeah. But so quickly then, the movie has great performances, fantastic performances from Milland and Rickles specifically.
Yeah. More so, I mean, Diane's okay.
She's alright.
But that's all that's really in it for more than a few minutes.
But Milland's great. I mean,
he's a fantastic actor.
There isn't a state, emotion, look that he doesn't have in this movie at some point.
It's true.
He has manic moments, he has happy moments, he has arrogant, stubborn, misogynistic moments, he has laid back, relaxed, bohemian moments. Like he kind of...
He runs the spectrum.
Right, he does everything in this movie.
Just like his eyes.
Oh, yes, indeed. Well done, you've tied it all in there. Corman's direction is great. It's a very interesting way to film it and a very interesting way to present it.
Yeah, it never lags.
No. I mean,
there's no filler in the movie, outside of the chase being a little long.
Right.
It's, an hour and 23 minutes or something like that?
If that. I mean, I think it finishes, the last shot is on like the hour 19 mark.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know that it has much to say, and I don't know that it has that much of a plot. But
in a way, it's kind of the King Midas sort of story.
Sure.
He wants more power than he's able to deal with.
Right.
In this case, he wants to have the vision of God, but he can't handle all of that sight. He can't handle all of the information that it's putting in his brain.
I think what it does successfully is it covers... because you were saying, everyone thinks that if you had one superpower, you'd be able to rule the world or whatever. But I think what it does is it successfully covers everything you could do if you had X-ray vision. Kind of covers just about everything you could possibly do.
I think it really does.
From being a, great diagnostician in terms of medical field, to being a gambler, to being a... Lech, to being a sideshow freak,
Yeah, that's... I don't know what else you could really
solve crimes. That's what you could do. You could be like X-ray specs in the comic book in Britain and go around and solve crimes. Gee, Mrs. Miggins, I saw who stole your milk or whatever. Whatever crimes he was. How did you see it? The milk is in a box. I saw through the box. Dun, dun, dun. Or whatever.
And X-Ray Specs was such a fascinating comic strip.
Shitty comic strip. All the comic strips we were raised on in England were shitty. Fun, though. I mean, but yeah, abysmal. Really so I love the score as well. There's some great score, especially the eerie, ghostly woman theremin mixture.
Yeah.
Sounded
That's always fun.
Yeah, it sounded like the yodeling cowboy. But that was fun. I liked all the other score. I liked the sets were, what they are in that sort of period of Corman's films. I can't imagine.
Yeah, there's no money in this movie. No. Clearly.
I mean, what money there is probably went to Milland and Rickles. And
I would hope so.
Yeah. And the cameras.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, but I think the thing that lets down modern B-movies is the quality of the video. Like back then, everyone had to shoot on film, whether they liked it or not.
Yeah.
So a B-movie might be on 16mm as opposed to 32mm or whatever, but ultimately it's still on film and therefore it still holds up. And as long as it's been preserved right and the duplication has been done right onto DVD or VHS or Blu-ray or whatever, it's going to still look like a movie looks from that period.
Right.
Now, it might not have all the bells and whistles, but it's the quality of the actual film is going to look the same.
I don't know if that's 100% true. I've seen some stuff from that time period that just looked like absolute garbage.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I'm just saying that nowadays, like, you see a made-for-TV sci-fi movie, and it's like shitty broadcast video, HD stuff with cheap-ass CG and all the rest of it.
Right.
Compare that to, like, a big screen shot on film. They're worlds apart.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you look at something like the Edgar Allan Poe, Vincent Price movies he's doing, with the costumes and all. Once he's got a little bit of money, he can make it look like as much like a real film as possible. It doesn't look like a low-budget film.
No, it has a nice background, has a nice set, and the costume is great.
Right.
And those, I mean, I didn't think that. I'm not trying to put down X as far as its budget goes.
Right.
It's pretty obvious there's no money in it.
But I think that's in
But they don't try to show something
that they can't show.
Yeah, it's all, it's a cheap carny set. It's a shitty house that he's rented. It's a hospital, which looked like a hospital.
Right. And when they went on location, it looked like on location. I mean, I made a joke at one point that he was going to crash into Kowalski from Vanishing Point because the roads he was driving around on, like West Nevada, East California, are exactly those roads from Vanishing Point.
Right.
And
hey, they got a helicopter.
Yeah.
At some point, that's not cheap.
No, I mean, my point more is to do with, and the same can be said for like some of the 80s B movies as well, the 80s horror movies. The reason why they just kind of hold up a bit better is they were on film, and film just has more of a quality to it than now, where even with the best will in the world and the best, HD camera that you can buy either online or from a Best Buy or whatever it is, even if you're spending $1,500 on a good HD DVLR type camera.
$1,500 or $15,000?
$1,500.
Really? That'll get you a good camera?
I'm talking about like low budget stuff now.
Okay. Right.
No, I mean, I'm sure with stuff like the sci-fi stuff they shoot on Red, which I think is about 15 grand, I think, or about 12 grand a camera. I don't know exactly.
Like that, yeah.
But
well, that stuff is it's just churned out. It's not
right. But what I'm saying is, I mean, maybe the Sci-Fi Channel stuff is the wrong thing, but independent movies like festival films or whatever it is, they're fine, but they just don't have the quality of something like, even a 16mm or something like that.
Yeah, I would agree with that too.
I mean, there are
ways to get depth out of HD, but you have to know how to do it.
Yeah, you have to have a really good post-effects program. You have to have a good wash on it or whatever it is.
And it needs to probably be somebody besides you, the director.
Right, exactly.
Somebody who gets paid a lot of money to do it very well.
Yeah, I mean, the couple of indie stuff that we saw recently actually hired a couple of, wannabe cinematographers, people who had done it. That's all they focused on, was the look of the film.
Right.
And most independent productions don't do that.
No,
It's just a dude with a camera. But these guys, even though they were shooting through the DSLR, or whatever they're called, so they were only shooting on like $1,200 cameras.
Oh, okay.
They still got a couple of guys who knew how to light it, knew how to shoot night scenes, knew how to whatever. And it just made it look 10 times better.
Right, because there was talent involved.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that even a 16mm film, even if you had no talent, you could make it at least look like a film.
Have you seen some of Ed Wood's last stuff? I mean, they look like home movies. They didn't look
good. I guess so. I was just trying to give it the benefit of the doubt, to give those early Cormans the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, and I think those are good because I think
I've just realised that we've had microphone fuzz the whole show. But what was I saying? We were just talking about no, to bring this back, I mean, I think Corman, considering the cheap sets, does the best he can do.
Oh, and I think he does very well. Like this movie, I mean, it's clear that it's not much of a budget, but it's a great movie.
Yeah, it is. It's really good fun. Yeah. And I'm really glad you showed it to me.
Oh, and glad I did too.
It's great. And I'm going to watch more of that Corman box set.
I think this is probably the crown jewel in it, but this is my favorite Corman film. So
of all time?
Yeah. I think even, as good as Tomb of Nigeria is.
Oh, you mean directed film?
Directed, yeah.
Right.
I'd say favorite is still Death Race 2000.
Right.
That's just
Did he direct that one?
That's Paul Bartel.
It's Paul Bartel, isn't it? Yeah.
He produced it. And if you want to listen to Corman do a really good commentary, he and John Sayles do one on Battle from Beyond the Stars.
Right.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. he's really interesting to listen to.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of the interviews that have done with him subsequently, because obviously he's all over the Machete Maidens Unleashed, because a lot of his movies were made in the Philippines, and he's obviously Corman's World. He's all over, and there's like a couple of making ofs on, like, I think there's a making of on like Shark the Person, a couple of those films and stuff that he
couldn't
produced.
care less about that stuff.
Right. But I've seen him talk a lot, and he is, you know, people have said he comes across as a lot more kind of kindly and benevolent than he actually is in practice.
Well,
you know, I mean, but
maybe.
then you look at the people who showed up when he got his honorary Oscar, and you look at the people who've stuck by him, and you look at the people who show up in Corman's World to, you know, basically say that, look, without him we wouldn't have anything that we have now.
Yeah.
And the list is endless. I mean, it's actually ridiculous how many people in Hollywood.
How many writers, directors, actors all got their start?
Yeah. I mean, it's insane. You know, you're
Demi, Nicholson.
Oh yeah, I mean, you've got Demi, Dante, Francis Ford Coppola, Scorsese worked for him. I always forget his name. Richie from Happy Days.
Ron Howard,
Paul Bartel, obviously we mentioned. Jack Hill, of course.
Yeah. I mean, the list is endless.
He worked with like
people.
two of the best Philippine directors, Hiro Santiago and Eddie Romero, who, you know, he gave them like Santiago did his first films with him, and Eddie Romero like had a resurgence in his career towards the end of it, working with Corman. Yeah, it's incredible. And then you look at Nicholson and Dern and Hopper and Fonda, and I mean, it's insane, just the Hollywood royalty that came and went through his stable. And so you know, the more I get into indie movies and B movies, the more you just have to kind of appreciate what he did.
Yeah, he did a lot.
Yeah, and most of the periods that he's worked in, or the decades he's worked in, he's produced either something of worth or something of note.
I'd say I don't know about the 2000s. I'm not sure about that.
No, not later on, because he's like slipped into that kind of sci-fi original Wynorski kind of
He's just
area,
making money now.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, he doesn't have to.
No,
you know?
Sure.
I mean, you know, what with the Shout Factory licensing all this stuff, and I mean, he's just opened his YouTube channel, of course, where Corman's Drive-In, where you can pay like $2 or something and see any one of his movies.
Okay.
I think all his movies are on there. All his famous ones are on there.
Oh, that's great.
But they charge.
Yeah. Well, whatever.
I bet you they all used to be on there for free.
Probably still are somewhere.
Right. But no, this is one I would definitely recommend. I would say it makes a good double bill with The Thing with Two Heads.
Oh, I think it would make a great double bill.
As a Milland obsessive.
I will let your listeners know that it is currently streaming on Amazon with a Prime account.
X the
Man with the X-Ray Eyes.
Nice.
If they have that.
Right.
Otherwise, you can buy it through John's webpage.
Yeah, you can buy it through my webpage, or you can go to Roger Corman's Drive-In, and I bet you it's available there.
I'm sure it is.
To rent off Corman himself. But give us the money before you give Corman the money.
You can rent it from Amazon, too.
Yeah, I think I got this box set, and if you do, go through the After Movie Diner webpage, through the Amazon banner link that's on aftermoviediner.blogspot.com, and we'll also get a few cents. So,
right. Everyone do that.
Lots of ways. Yeah, if you're ever buying anything on Amazon, renting anything on Amazon, doing anything on Amazon, just go to my webpage first and click through the banner, and then I get a few shekels thrown my way. Lots of ways to support the diner, and that's one of them. But there we go. Anyway, thanks ever so much for being on the show, Doc.
Thanks for having me.
Loved the film. Loved the conversation. And we'll have to have you back.
Be happy to come back.
Definitely so. Well, thank you very much. And that's it from us. Good night. Like the show? Well, you can find our complete podcast archive over at amdpodcast.blogspot.com or aftermoviediner.com. You can send us an email at aftermoviediner@gmail.com tweet us at After Movie Diner, or follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/After Movie Diner. Or why not be a part of the show and leave us a voicemail over at speakpipe.com/After Movie Diner. You can also support the show a number of ways: by spreading the word to family, friends and co-workers, by writing us a review over at iTunes or TalkShoe, by purchasing some excellent diner merchandise over at cafepress.com/After Movie Diner, by donating on our website, by advertising with our website, or maybe you're a regular Amazon user. If so, then before you make a purchase, go to amdpodcast.blogspot.com, aftermoviediner.blogspot.com, or aftermoviediner.com and click through the Amazon banner ads. It costs you nothing extra, but they throw us a few coins for the trouble. Or, like the movies we cover, then buy them over at our personal Amazon store, also on amdpodcast.blogspot.com. Really, thanks everybody for everything you continue to do, and please keep listening. But the fun doesn't stop there. Oh no, people, there's more. Yes, that's completely right. I am urging, nay demanding, every single one of my listeners goes over to www.youtube.com/Motern Media. That's MOTERN Media, so like modern but with a T. Go over to Motern Media on youtube.com and watch the film Local Legends. It is fantastic. It's a wonderful tome to the local entrepreneur creative force wanting to create art, wanting to make music, wanting to write films, wanting to do awesome stuff, but also with the desire to obviously earn some money off that and attract people to it and so on. And there's a fantastic story that develops around that, and also there's like a rom-com element to it, and it's amazing. It's kind of like Clerks meets Stardust Memories meets Deconstructing Harry. It's fantastic. Anyway, it's by Matt Farley. You will have heard him on a few shows ago discussing the film when I was on set in Massachusetts when I filmed a small cameo for the film. So look, please, I urge everyone to go watch it over at youtube.com/Motern Media. Look it up, find Local Legends, the full feature film. It's available there, completely free to watch. I demand you go see it. It's absolutely fantastic. Anyone who's ever tried to do anything amateur or creative and tried to turn it professional, this is the film you want to watch. It's just a delight. It's funny, it's weird, it's wonderful. It deserves to be seen. I think it's some of the best stuff they've done. I would urge everyone to go watch that right away. Please, please, please do it. Plus, I have a cameo. So, please support Matt Farley in his venture to become just the most fantastic all-round oddball that there is. And go watch Motern Media's Local Legends on YouTube. Thank you. And now, the song. This song and many others like it are available for listening to, downloading or purchase over at miscplumbingfixtures.bandcamp.com. That's MISC, like the shortening of miscellaneous, plumbingfixtures.bandcamp.com. Please go there, support the show, buy a song. Why don't you?
Well, I got fish face warm from the sun. Shake this town around your thumb. Put out the bucket, the stall is on fire. Hold my hand, we're climbing high. I got the good grace to get out of your way. I got a great green grass that looks big. Hey, if you got the patience, I'll bring the choir. Wrap my coattails as that goes high, high, higher. It goes high, higher. Well, the wheels on the runway are flying. The suit bet all your money on the comedy trip. Some porcelain lipstick and a parachute's all you need in a life like this. All you need in a life like this. goes over bad mouths to the waitress cowers in the corner till the wedding is through. The judge shouts at the jury while the plaintiff perspires. And throw a back door out of here. It's going high, high, higher. It's going high, higher. Just pass on the pancakes, leave them in your will. You can't take cards while it's changing the till. You got 6 more years for the truth to transpire. Grab that old rope to go high, high, higher. We're going higher. Well, there's a vandal in the pet store raining in the car. Take all of your advice from the one behind the bar. You be the shot and see if that'll get you far. You ain't ready yet. No, no. For a life like this. No, you ain't ready yet, my friend. For a life like this and for a life like this. Wheels on the runway, fly in the soup bed. All your money on the comedy troupe. Some post a little lipstick and a parachute. It's all you need in a life like this. Ooh, in a life like this. Ooh, in a life like this. Ooh, in a life like this.
There are men, and then there are second unit podcast men. The podcast you've just been listening to is part of the Second Unit Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at 2upn.blogspot.com or on Facebook under the Second Unit Podcast Network. Our fantastic list of shows include Drunk on VHS, We Came from the Basement, No Budget Nightmares, The After Movie Diner, Dr.Action and the Kick-Ass Kid, and Bloodbaths and Boomsticks. Take one podcast into the shower. Don't be a blithering idiot, Alan. We can give you the multiple podcast cleansing system all in one place that your hair deserves. Our programming is available across all platforms from iTunes to Podomatic, TalkShoe to Stitcher, so you have absolutely no excuse. Listen today, and a free naked person of your choice will be shipped from Thailand to your door in a matter of weeks. The Second Unit Podcast Network, bringing you the action and leaving the boring stuff to the other guys. Bloody hell. Who does a girl have to blow around here to get a decent beverage?